All right, hi, how are you doing? I hope that you're well. My name is Rachel Kahogo, and today's discussion is going to be one of the most impactful discussions because today we are having a discussion with ASSEK, that is the Association of Startups and SMEs Enablers of Kenya. All right, so today we're talking about how you, as an SME, as an ESO, as a startup, would be able to just scale up in what you do. And to have this discussion, we are having the one and only Kimalat, who is the CEO of ASSEK. So stay tuned, call in other people so that we'd all get empowered together. Hi, Mercy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
We're really excited to be here on this set to discuss about the PR campaign that is just about to kick off, to speak about the vision and the mission of ASSEK, because we've seen the impact that it has created so far. But before we go into the details, we'd want to know who Kimalat is. So please introduce yourself and then we can get started.
My name is Kimalat. I'm the CEO of ASSEK, which stands for the Association of Startup and SME Enablers of Kenya. Before coming to ASSEK, I've had more than 15 years of experience working in the SME and startup ecosystem, looking really at how we can design impact programs that can support young entrepreneurs into the entrepreneurship sector, but also looking at reskilling young people and also those in career to actually advance into the entrepreneurship sector. Entrepreneurship is very exciting, and one of the key things that really stood out for me is how we can actually use entrepreneurship to solve the pertinent issues in our community and at the same time creating jobs where people can actually have a livelihood to provide for their family, support their community, and even grow and scale up different initiatives that can now empower also the national, Pan-African and international geographies and economies as well. So really happy to have the team here to share more about what we do as an association, and really also having a chance to go in depth and meeting different people in the sector that are actually changing and transforming not only Kenya's innovation and entrepreneurship landscape, but even the global landscape as well.
That's so wholesome, because you've mentioned about the most critical issues that are facing the SMEs and the ESOs and the startups in Kenya, and you'd love to get into in-depth of it. But maybe before we go into that, what really inspired the establishment of ASSEK?
So I was a student back in, I will not say the year.
It's all right.
I was a student back in the day, and I remember we had IHAB that was recently established. That's in Bishop Magwa. And when you look at IHAB as a concept, it was actually the first ever incubator that was really supporting early stage ideas, and it was actually focusing on students. And so I had a chance to be part of their boot camps, the hackathon, the different speaker series, and many other initiatives. And not only me, but even students across Kenya would come and attend the different programs there. But then now you see what happened was that what happens when a student is able to develop an idea and just begin to commercialize. There was no other outfit that actually was supporting them. And therefore we saw NILAB coming up, which is literally next door to that one, and a few others started coming up in the ecosystem, that those were primarily focusing on BDS, business development services provision, like providing that consultancy to startups and SMEs. They pivoted and actually became accelerators like Growth Africa, Wild International, and many others. So what happened at that time also was the opportunity that was there. There was a lot of early stage financing that was coming into the ecosystem. Many people actually had enough capital to prototype their ideas and really know which idea was most valuable and also letting go of the ideas that were not going to commercialize or actually not solve a problem and get the revenue that was needed. So what we did was back in 2018, 40 members came together and said that we actually need a body that can recognize the work that entrepreneur support organizations are doing, also including innovation hubs. And then now get the formal recognition, at the same time also pull in larger funding from the development sector, that is whether foreign or internally within Kenya, and also get government backing in terms of policy frameworks and also instituting support for these startups to actually thrive and grow. Now remember, if you look at the startups in themselves, they are high risk, high growth, but high impact as well. Therefore, the kind of support that they need is very specialized as opposed to an SME. And that is why we came together and actually formed ASSEK to really represent these two categories as individual entities that needed support to be addressed. And hence our name, Association of Startup and SME Enablers of Kenya. Now, the reason why as an association we actually bring and coordinate more than 150 organizations that are providing training, coaching, mentorship, linkages to markets and investors. Why we came together was, one, to actually collaborate in the ecosystem, such that if you're an entrepreneur from ideation, you actually have a growth plan in terms of accessing different programs along your journey to build your capacity. So whether you're an incubator, you can access support there. If you're at a growth stage level, you can go to an accelerator. If you're looking at venture capital and really scaling up, you can join scale-up programs and many other outfits. So because the goal really was to support the startups and the SMEs to graduate and actually grow their businesses up to maturity and then even exit as well.
And I absolutely love that you've mentioned that you're bringing people together, want to collaborate, and also for networking. Now, for the SMEs and the ESOs as well, why do you think it's very important for collaborations and frequently as possible to network?
So if you look at how the world is changing, before everything was operating well, then we had COVID. Now, the challenge with the pandemic, so any disasters, is that it stops your normal business operations continuation. Meaning you have an interval that forces you to freeze your operations. Now, if you do not collaborate with other partners and stakeholders, then you're stuck in the same spot. Meaning you do not know how to pivot, how to adapt to new technologies, and even looking at how you can remain resilient. I remember during COVID, what we did was that we had we conducted a needs assessment at that time, and we actually assessed how our entrepreneur support organizations digitally inclined so that they can continue with their operations remotely, and even using that opportunity to even scale their programs to other countries. Because if it's training, you can deliver it through a digital platform and it's accessible to everyone in the planet 24/7. And so we were able to conduct the needs assessment and then design a capacity building program that trained more than 200 innovation leaders and managers across Kenya to actually embed digital tools in their business. Alongside that was building their capacity to have a digital business model whereby they can actually look at incubation and acceleration at that kind of a level. Now, the benefit that trickles down to the startups and the SMEs is that they continuously get the access and support on a real-time basis. And now, because we have digital tools, we can now track how they're growing over time. So therefore, if you say you are tracking your revenues from, let's say, March, we can now track your revenue in November and the following year. And we can now establish trends and patterns and use that information to now guide your business with informed data as well. So we're able to leverage that, and that is all through collaboration. The second thing is looking at funding, right? So if you're looking at how we can access a bigger pool of funding, whether it's investment, investors now want to fund in groups or in consolidated groups, or actually people or companies. That is why joint consortiums actually work. One thing that we've been challenging our members is how they can help their SMEs to form partnerships or joint ventures, because you find that an SME is actually part of a value chain of another enterprise. So why not come together and form one complete company that completes the end-to-end manufacturing of a specific product? Could be, value addition, could be market linkages or whatever. And so with that, you now get access to a larger funding. So looking at ticket sizes from 500,000 USD and above, and that will go into your business and you build your company. We always say it's better to have 1% of a million than 100% of nothing. So when you actually have partnerships, you really are forced to see the bigger picture. And the final thing that I'll just say is that there's a huge potential market in East Africa, right? We have 400 million population within East Africa. If you're only focusing on Kenya, which is around 55 million people, that's quite small. But if we start looking at even East Africa and then look at the African market, now we start playing and leveraging different resources to scale and grow our businesses. But the only way to do that is by having proper systems and processes within the organization, hiring the right talent, and then forming collaborative partnerships along your entire value chain, who can either give you extended credit terms when you cannot pay. They can also outsource some of your talent to your company to actually help you navigate that season, and also leveraging peer-to-peer learning, because community is really important. I can learn from your failure so that I don't have to repeat the same thing tomorrow.
For sure. All right, that's really wholesome. Now we've talked about scaling up as an SME, as a startup, and even ESOs. But then we'd love to look at it from an actual perspective. So as ASSEK, what has the journey been like? Because we've seen the impact that you've now created, but you've told us what the initiative looked like when you started. So what has the journey been like since you had the idea and it was just on paper to what we can see today?
So with ASSEK, forming ASSEK has always been a conversation that's been happening within the ecosystem. Way back from 2010 when iHub was formed, and then we saw so many changes happening in the startup ecosystem. One, the funding that was dedicated to early stage ventures, it started to shift towards growth stage companies. And so you're left with the challenge, okay, how do we still continue supporting early stage ventures? The second one was a policy regulation. You find that startups who want to access capital or grow their business, they're restricted in terms of one, identification, so how are they legally registered, and then also accessing financial services. For example, even in a bank, if you have to go to a bank, you have to have collateral and many other bureaucratic processes. And the third one was that entrepreneur support organizations were doing so much in terms of investing their own time, their own resources, just to de-risk these startups and SMEs, but there was no recognition of that, and also looking at funding to really support the operationalization of the ESOs at that time. And that is when now these critical conversations start happening and saying, look, I'm a hub in Nairobi, I'm struggling. You're a hub in Kisumu, you're struggling as well. You're a hub in Lamu, I'm sure you're not even recognized at all. We have a couple of members in Turkana, Wajir, and many other marginalized counties. And the idea was, how can we then come together as one network and really have a voice within the policy space, so we can actually shape policy and also speak to the financiers and the development partners to really reframe their programming and funding to really address the key issues that we were seeing on the ground. And that is why in 2018 we came together as 40 hubs that actually signed the document, and we went and registered ASSEK as a legal society to represent the startup and SME ecosystem and to really be their voice in terms of that. And since then, we've actually grown. Our numbers actually quadrupled. We're now more than 150 organizations supporting startups and SMEs. We've been able to roll out more than 12 programs which are high impact driven in different sectors. So we've touched on digitalization of the SMEs and startups. We've done circular economy. We've also done how to strengthen and improve industrial manufacturing, and also improving the innovation from the startups and SMEs. And also we've been able to link the startups and SMEs to global partners. For example, Dubai, we have Europe, Australia, and many others. We haven't gone to Antarctica yet. I don't know what's there, but we should definitely explore. But those are the kind of things that we've been able to do. Alongside that is being able to mobilize more than 1 million euros that has gone to micro and small enterprises in more than 40 counties. So directly investing into the business. But that was done in a very structured manner, whereby it was milestone based and it was dependent on a work plan that the entrepreneur would present, and we would fund that to see their growth. And if you look at it now, we have more than more than 2 million SMEs that are really thriving and growing, and our members have actually played a role in their sustainability.
Yeah, that's huge impact. That's really huge impact, especially where you've talked about visibility.
Exactly.
And we'll be talking about that in a short while. But maybe before we go there, and this would be maybe really important to all the ESOs as well, is that let's talk about policies and regulations a bit. What do you think about that? What would you say about the policies and regulations that are in the ecosystem, and how does that affect the ESOs? Is there something that needs to change so that they would leverage on what they're doing already?
So one thing, and that's the reason why we formed ASSEK. So not only to lobby for funding and visibility, but the aspect of policy. Now, one thing that we realized was that policy is not a one number game.
Okay.
You need numbers, and actually it needs to be organized, because policy also is a very long-term initiative and long-term goal. One of the key things that we've been championing since 2018 is a startup bill.
Okay.
Reason for that is because we can actually have a framework where we can dedicate funding, markets, and support to these specialized startups that are high growth, high impact. And supporting them to actually grow and mature from being a startup to now becoming a company or corporate. And then finally, a mature business that can even look at exiting or even scaling across the world. So looking really at Kenya as a bedrock of emerging startups. But we realized that for them to actually be supported, we need to have the right policy framework in place. The startup bill was one of them, and it's still ongoing in what we're doing. The other thing that also we're pushing for is looking at an incubation policy whereby we can also recognize incubators and accelerators and the unique role that they're playing, and how government can actually play an enabling role in not only funding them, but also giving them the infrastructure that they need to support. So we have a policy forum workshop coming up, and it's our second annual event, and we're bringing in all the government enabling agencies. So if you look at Kenya Industrial Estates, we have the Kenya Research Development Institute that actually has equipment where SMEs can walk in and actually do value addition at a really low subsidized cost, and many other partnerships. So that also has helped us to shape partnerships as we do the actual legal process of developing bills or enhancing them. The other key thing that we've been playing a key role on policy is looking at really the finance bill or other taxation mechanisms. And that is why we have a partnership also with KRA, where we've actually been able to host different sessions where they come and actually demystify all these terminologies to the SME, so that even as the SME is planning for their annual year or their work plans or even expansion, they're actually able to calculate the cost of compliance into their business model or even into their operational framework. Why is this important? Because we also have in our network investors. Compliance is critical. Right? So if you're not compliant, if you're not registered, there's certain things you're locked out of. And that is why we go back and build strategic partnerships with the Kenya National Innovation Agency. We have KRA, we have many other different partners to be able to strengthen the capacities of the entrepreneur support organizations, who will now help all the entrepreneurs remain compliant and be more investment attractive. Not only to the Kenyan innovators, but investors, but also to the global investors. The final thing that I'll say is that Kenya recently signed an agreement with the European Union, and that creates a gateway or a bridge for Kenyan startups to export, at the same time also for European investors and entrepreneurs to also tap into the Kenyan market. Now, Kenya recently established the Data Protection Act, which is a phenomenal act, because it also helps us to ensure that all products and services that we're producing also are compliant with international regulations. And now, if you look at a Kenyan business that's exporting to Europe, we stand a better chance because we are compliant also in line with the GDPR laws that are in Europe. So by aligning national laws and regulations with international or European laws, we create a bridge where we can actually have market connections as well. So policy is very important, but it's also very lengthy, and that's why we say for every entrepreneur support organization, join ASSEK, because you are helping to shape the future of regulation, at the same time also championing for ease of doing business in Kenya
All right.
that can also go global.
All right.
Yeah.
That's really wholesome once again, because as you said, if you're not able to comply with all these, then you're closing doors for investment.
Exactly.
Yet most of the ESOs and the startups are always talking about we need more people to invest. So I think that's very important. Now let's talk about visibility. We're having a PR campaign that's going on. Tell us about it.
So one thing we realized was that what you don't know, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And we always find that SMEs and startups come to us all the time saying, I need someone to help me with my business model. I am expanding to a new market. I have an investor who's interested in investing in my business. Who can help me?
Yeah.
Now, as a network that has more than 150 organizations that are experts in this, and also they're in different sectors. So we have those in agriculture, we have those in manufacturing, we have those who are investors actually, and also we have those that are maker spaces. So if you have an idea and you want to build an actual prototype, you can actually leverage this space. But no one knows them, and no one can find them. So what we decided to do was to support our members become visible. So what we're designed is that it's a campaign, it's a 2-month campaign or a roadshow where we're visiting our members on the ground. We're going to see their space. We're going to meet their team. We're going to interview the founder of this hub to understand what is their story. Why are they so passionate about supporting entrepreneurs? We have those that are operating in very marginalized communities, working with women and youth who have gone through gender-based violence. We have those who are operating in areas that are susceptible to climate change and adverse climate change, but they're still operating there for more than 10 years. So those are the resilient stories that we want to share and broadcast to the entire network, not only in Kenya, but even globally, and saying Kenya really has the best of talent working and supporting startups, but at the same time also featuring these entrepreneurs that have gone through these different programs that our members have been providing and how they are making impact. And impact is all about job creation, solving climate change issues, at the same time also creating sustainable livelihoods that is directly contributing to Kenya's GDP, East Africa community GDP, and also globally competing at that level.
And I also absolutely love what you're doing. So what we'll do, we'll have all the social media for ASSEK so that you'll be able to also see what the ESOs are doing and also get to see some of the programs that are on ASSEK. So that would be really, really important for you. But because of time, we'd love for you to speak to an ESO that hasn't joined ASSEK yet, but they've had this conversation and they feel like it's important for them to join ASSEK. So please speak to them. You can also share how possible that is, if the regulations, what are they supposed to do for them to be a part of ASSEK? Let's check around.
One thing I'll share, and it's something I really believe in, not only because I'm the CEO, but because I too was a member before becoming the full-time CEO of ASSEK. Is that we are really a community. If you see how we came together collaboratively to form one network where we can all have an equal say in shaping the policy framework, in looking at how we can tap into funding to support the operations of our businesses, and also looking at how we can scale our social and financial impact, then ASSEK really is a place to be. We are a network of more than 150 organizations that have the same vision. We need to drive Kenya forward, and to do so, entrepreneurship really is a key driver to unlocking socioeconomic development. We also have in our network fantastic founders that have been there for more than 20 years, really building their business, and they have opened doors in terms of mentorship. So if you're just thinking about starting your own entrepreneur support organization, you have a pool of other mentors you can tap into and really seek support from. We've designed different programs that have supported early stage ESOs, growth stage, and even scale up ESOs to really be able to leverage the opportunities in terms of networks, in terms of resources and tools, and they are able to also grow their organization and build a team as they do so. Now, one key thing that also we're tackling this year is the founders clinics. This is because as we're building a business, we understand the pressure. There's social, financial, and many other things that are really pressurizing the founder, the CEO. And where do you turn to? ASSEK is the home for you. With this initiative called the Founders Clinic, we are going to be hosting forums that are open spaces, not recorded, and just having a platform for you as a founder to come and share your experience, share the challenge, share with us the wins, and many other things. Recently, we're just celebrating 5 years of one of our newest member, and also 10-year celebration for another member that we've had in the network, and another one last year was celebrating 20 years. So you can see there's a lot of success to be celebrated and to be shared, but you're missing out. So join ASSEK, be part of us. Let us do this together. We're not saying we have all the answers and all the resources. So please, as you join ASSEK, please also open your doors and share your networks and let us learn together and really grow ASSEK to be the level that can really support every enabler in the country, at the same time also helping to expand programs into other countries. If you're a development partner or an investor or financier, work with us as well. Let us co-create packages that can really support the scale up of these different initiatives, the scale up of these different products and services to a global arena. And the only way to do that is through your backing in terms of financial support that is really tailored to the growth of the startup and the SME. To the government, we really appreciate the continuous collaboration and working with us. We've actually been able to partner with the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry under the Kenya Innovation Entrepreneurship Project, that is KIEP. And we've been able to train more than 700 innovation managers and leaders just within a period of 1 year. We've been able to set up more than 15 county policy dialogue forums that are taking place at the county level. We've also been able to organize the ASSEK Annual Conference now twice, that has really brought more than 700 participants in diverse sectors. So ASSEK is not only for the innovation ecosystem, but we are now speaking to corporates. We're now working with other associations in other sectors. We're now bringing in investors at a Pan-African level and also global level, just to strengthen Kenya's competitiveness and improving the level of innovation in the country. So work with us, partner with us. We are great people, and we look forward to embracing you in the network.
Amazing. That's so wholesome, and that's a sign for you to surely immediately join ASSEK, and that will be the start of your growth. Now we'll see you on the range of programs that are there on ASSEK, and we'll see you as we continue growing the ecosystem of business in Kenya. Others, Mercy, thank you so much for having us on this set and for allowing us to just know about what ASSEK does and the amazing programs that you're having. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate, and we are happy that you've been able to join us. We've had ASSEK on set. We've had Mercy, who is the CEO of ASSEK, and I know that you've learned a thing or two. See you. Bye-bye.